Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special panel discussion being staged as part of the 2020 Sharjah Entrepreneurship Festival. My name is AB Sam Thomas, and I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Entrepreneur Middle East. It's our pleasure and privilege to be a part of this landmark event once again, which we are staging in a virtual format this year, given the COVID-19 crisis. But at the same time, the event remains as relevant, as responsive as it was before. In the past 2 or 3 years that we have staged this. I'm very glad to be part of this event once again, and I am also feeling extremely lucky to be tasked with the responsibility of moderating this particular panel, which is with a bunch of dynamic entrepreneurs from around the world who are building enterprises that are driving real societal change. Not just in the communities they are based out of, but have potential for impact in, honestly, like around the world in a number of different formats. This panel has been titled Making Change Happen, which again is a nod to the theme of celebrating change makers at the Sharjah Entrepreneurship Festival. Has been celebrating since its inception. The panelists that we have for today are entrepreneurs who have been declared the winners of the UCAN Startup Awards, which again stands for Ubuntu Care and Nurture Startup Awards, an initiative between Sharjah and of course the Ubuntu Love Challenge. At this point, I just want to introduce everyone on the panel with me. First of all, Raad Kalha, who is the CEO of Carers App. He's joining us from Jordan. Nneile Nkholise, business lead at 3Dmo, who's joining us from South Africa. Caitlin Dolkart, who's the founder of Flair, joining us from Kenya. And last but not the least, Abdulrhman Halafawy, who's the co-founder of CUP in Egypt. First of all, guys, thank you all for joining us. How are you all feeling today? Let's start with that.
Well, we're feeling great. Thank you, AB, for having us today.
Great. Guys, I just want to like jump straight into the discussion and talk about, you, all four of you, being declared the winners of the UCAN Startup Awards. Just to start things off, can you, each of you just give a quick introduction about yourselves and your company and how you came about to launch them? Raad, I would like to start with you as you were the first place winner in the health tech track. Go for it.
Thank you, AB. Carers is a family care marketplace that connects a household with the best trustworthy care providers, from nurses and physiotherapists and childcare specialists. It is the result for a personal unpleasant experience that my family and I went through trying to find the best and professional home care for one of our family member. So it was that flagged and many concerns and questions to be asked about before having to trust a stranger to provide this support and having the right quality of care and experience to do that. It was a real struggle, and we went through many ups and downs with different means of getting the right help. And we noticed that so many people around me having and facing the same struggle. So I decided to create Carers with a smart algorithm, a matching algorithm that matches families' needs with caregivers' expertise.
Raad, can you talk about like where you're located right now and like the scope of business for your company at this point for Carers?
Of course. It was 2017. I'm not a technical guy or a health tech specialist, but I have an idea for a solution. So the journey started by learning and observing the technologies and how to be to create a new value proposition and add it on the home care industry. So we launched our first version of Carers app on 2018 in Amman, Jordan, with only 35 caregivers, and we offered only two main services: the complete nursing and babysitting services. Um, uh, from there, we started to learn and to observe the market needs and to enhance our company and technology based our clients' feedback. And we reach out for many great mentors, and we joined many acceleration program to embrace our strengths and overcome our weaknesses. That led us to improve and our business perspective. Um, After that, we offered new services and added on our array of solutions, and by including a quick care nursing visits and physiotherapy services and lab test services. And we expanded and increased the number of caregivers to reach 300 caregiver, and we've provided more than 28,000 hours of care by providing more than 5,000 job opportunities and 300% year-on-year growth in 2020 versus 2019. So, yes.
I mean, congratulations, of course. Again, when I say congratulations, it's not just about winning the UCAN Startup Awards. As an enterprise, what you accomplished in the last couple of years is purely amazing, and that's the kind of impact that we're trying to celebrate at Sharjah Entrepreneurship Festival. Talking about impact again, I want to go to the second place winner in the health tech track, Caitlin from Flair, who, besides winning at the UCAN Startup Awards, has recently been recognized by Time Magazine as one of the best inventions of 2020. So, Caitlin, just give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and your company as well, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Abi, for having us. And I am very excited and honored on behalf of the entire Flair team to be one of the UCAN Startup Award winners. So at Flair, we have a incredibly simple but bold mission in which we believe that no matter who you are or where you are, you deserve access to emergency care in minutes. In an emergency, it's oftentimes the difference of seconds that can determine the outcome. Do you survive or not? And so at Flair, what we do is we build 911 systems for cities and countries where currently it doesn't exist. 911 is a system that, I grew up, born and raised in Chicago in the US. It's a system that I took fully for granted. And only after, spending many years abroad in East Africa did I really come to realize that it's a system that doesn't exist for the majority of the world. And what that means is whether you have a car accident, whether you go into labor, whether you have a loved one who has a heart attack, all of us, unfortunately, will have an emergency at some point in our life. And a 911 system allows people to quickly and effectively get to the hospital when you need healthcare most. And so today in Kenya, we operate the largest network of ambulances, but we don't own a single ambulance. We bring together different ambulances onto one central system, much like Uber, operate a 24/7 dispatch center and dispatch ambulances now, in minutes. What used to take 3 hours to get an ambulance now takes 15 minutes. What used to potentially be hundreds of calls now takes just one. And we are delivering an unbelievably impactful service and giving people the peace of mind that they deserve, that if and when they have an emergency, we are there to provide that service.
I think you said it so well, Caitlin. I mean, something that used to take 3 hours is now like reduced to a matter of minutes. I mean, and especially when it's a case of like life and death, that's the kind of impact that we're talking about. Is there some way you go about measuring this kind of impact? Like how do you, explain to people like, okay, this is the kind of change that your enterprise is bringing to society's worlds, or rather the country in general?
That's such a great question. I mean, when we look at impact, we look at not only individual stories. Last week, for example, we dispatched an ambulance, and a mother gave birth in the back of the ambulance and delivered two healthy, twins. So we look at it in not only, individual success stories like that, and not every emergency is bad. There is definitely emergencies that are, very positive and good points in someone's life. So we look at those individual stories, but we also look at the broader impact. I think that it's really hard to really quantify just what it feels like to have a 911 system, but that peace of mind that you have, that you can live, and that in everyday events, you can have that service. Just to kind of give you some like rough estimate though, is like emergencies individually feel very rare, and they are. But at a population level, emergencies are on average about 3% of the population every single year will have an emergency. So in Kenya, when you look at a population of 50 million, that's over 1.5 million emergencies every single year, which is actually quite substantial. That means like thousands upon thousands of emergencies every single day. And so when you're kind of zooming out, you actually really do understand just how big of an impact that would have and does have on society when you don't have such a system in place.
Thank you, Caitlin. From health tech, we're going to move into the other track that the UCAN Startup Hub wanted to celebrate, which is agri-food tech. Abdulrhman, can you just give us an introduction to yourself, and of course, CUP as well, which I think is one of the most interesting startups I've seen come out of Egypt in the recent past. So I'm looking forward to hearing you introduce your company.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Tavi. Actually, CUP is a shortcut for coffee utilization product. We are an agri-tech startup and waste management startup based in Egypt. We are building a collection system to collect spent coffee ground from coffee shops such as Costa and Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. We are using the spent coffee ground to maximize the value out of it and turn it into a lot of product, or maybe to support many industries. So when we started, we just know that we have a really rich full material such as coffee ground, but which industries that we can use it. So we found after research that we can use it more than 60 applications in different industries. So one of the easiest one was mushroom farming, because we found that mushroom farming with coffee ground is really nice thing, because it's giving all the needed nutrition and give it the needed value, and it make it grow faster than any other soil. So here we started, and we are now providing mushroom, and we are going to expand to another products or agri solution with coffee ground.
Abdulrhman, how would you go about, like, again, the same kind of question which I asked Caitlin and of course Rad, like, how do you go about explaining impact? Like, for a company, that is essentially taking waste and making it into something much more productive. How do you go about measuring impact for your communities, for your enterprise?
Actually, we are measuring our impact based on the amount of the waste that we are collecting. We just started with just one branch from Costa, then we expanded to another branches. At first, we couldn't provide mushroom in the best picture or the best operation, that we were enhancing the problem, the issue itself. So we were adding value to the people who are learning a new thing, that are working with us, because we are teaching them a new thing. Their people have a good experience in that, and they maybe one day they go and do their own experience with mushroom or go their own farm, because we couldn't make them go without it. Also, it's regarding to the product that we are providing, the industries that we are support, the problem that we are solving. All of that's regarding to the measure that we are measuring the impact that we are doing. So I think that's maybe that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Last but not least, Nneile, again, a company when I was reading about, I was like kind of blown away, because it's such again, I've never heard of something like this before. So could you go about explaining 3Demo and what it does, and like the kind of impact or change it is bringing to the world at large?
Okay, so what we do at 3D Imo is that we offer livestock biometric identification, particularly focused on cattle, where we take a picture of a cattle's muzzle, nose in popular language, and we are then able to create that ID, connecting the animal to the farmer, because a cattle's nose is as unique as a human fingerprint. So that allows us to be able to create the kind of identification that allows us to track the movement of an animal, even across the countries where the animal is, because there has always been a difficulty in us tracing movement of animals, because in every country that you go, there is a unique system that is used for animal identification. So that is why when we talk about animal theft, that happens a lot within the African continent. It's difficult for police or anyone to trace where the animal comes from. So that's what we've been doing quite a lot. And the nicest thing is that we have used our system to sort of be able to trace the disease risks within different regions in the country, even beyond the country, because what we have understood is that because cattle move around quite a lot, it also moves around with diseases. So we saw recently with COVID pandemic that whenever people move around quite a lot, that's how diseases spread quite easily. So if we find the identification of the movement of cattle, we are then able to isolate the hotspots for diseases. And as we talk about impact, our impact, we've built quite a metric system on how we measure impact. And that has looked into the kind of animals that we have helped in identifying diseases at, the cost of the diseases, and also the number of diseases that we have been able to measure quite a lot. Because as we measure the cost of disease reduction, we are then able to measure the kind of financial savings we are doing for the country, because agriculture, especially livestock agriculture in Africa, contributes quite a lot to the total continent's gross domestic profit in each country. So beyond that, because our database is used a lot to help farmers access financing and insurance products, we also use that to measure how we have increased the scale of ensuring a lot of farmers are able to access those financial support that they wouldn't have accessed before.
Nneile, a question for you here, and this is purely because I was so impressed by the product. Like, how did it start? Like, how did you stumble upon this problem that needed a solution, and how easy has it been, like, communicating the same to people around you?
Okay, so funny thing is that we started the product in 6 months ago. So when COVID hit, I decided to go home, and growing up in a farm, I then decided that I would start helping my family with the farm, in the farm. So one of the things that I realized during that time is that a lot of my family members who own cattle had wanted to take their produce to market because there was a high demand for beef at the time, but then because they didn't have ownership certificate or identification of their cattle, they couldn't take their produce to the farmer market. And that's when I started realizing that there's still more of a need for us to sort of be able to help most of my family members. I was helping my family members, but I realized that I was a product to support the larger community. And one interesting thing happened 4 months ago, that we recently bought a bull, and a bull is quite costly. And before we knew it, a week after having bought the bull, it got sick. I mean, we bought it on the basis that it looked healthy in our eyes, but because we didn't have a background of its vaccination history, when it got to our farm, it literally got sick, and we just discovered that it had not been vaccinated. It literally had a disease by the time we brought it to the farm. And it's one of those things that we realized that we need to start doing proper tracing of animals' movement, proper tracing of the historical records of the kind of vaccination or medical support that an animal has been given.
Yeah, you're kind of like tracing the provenance, so to speak. And again, we talk about this kind of like tracing when it comes to like, goods like jewelry or diamonds or something. But the fact of the matter is this is something so basic, but so integral for many people's livelihoods. And again, congratulations to you for building the solution, which I think is going to, I'd be very excited to see how it grows and develops in the future. At this point, I just want to look at the common thread between all four of you, of your enterprises. And I want to talk about like how each of them are solving like very specific problems within the communities, but have broader appeal or like broader impact, not beyond what you originally thought of. As entrepreneurs, when you were starting these enterprises, is this something that you had in mind that, okay, this is going to cause massive change in society? Or was it more like, okay, I'm going to create a business and, the social impact comes later? Rad, perhaps you want to start this off and then I'll go to everyone, of course.
Here's a question, Abby. From day one, social impact is in the core of our business strategy. And we built our business model according to that. We created our technical and operational procedures to ensure to reflect positively and directly on the health of the patients at their homes by providing a quality of care and safety. Alongside that, we are creating part-time and full-time job opportunities to many male and female locals to increase their income. And also during the pandemic recently, we created many initiatives and projects to provide totally free care services for less fortunate households to help them overcome the pandemic and to make a solution for them.
Abdulrhman, same question for you. Like, how did you balance this? At that, when you were starting up the company, was it just about like, okay, you found a solution and you wanted to make it work, or how did it work for you?
Actually, the main motive to start our startup because that we found that there's a wasting for a coffee ground without being usage. So we started how we can use this waste. So this one, the main motive to start our startup. Then moving forward, we found that we can use many applications, and also we found that we are getting this waste and put it in products or in industries that help environment because it's minimizing the reduce thermal emission that comes out of this waste and the bad effects on the environment. So the main vision or the main reason to start our business is using this waste. So the impact was the first thing that we start with. Then we are moving to the business, how we can be profitable as and sustainable business and moving forward and be with you now.
Yes, absolutely. Nneile, I mean, the same question, but I also want to add, like, has it been easy communicating, what you do to the rest of the world, like getting people on board, getting, the support of, I don't know, anyone from like team members to investors? Again, like I said, you won the UCAN Startup Award, so you're obviously doing something right. But I'm just curious to hear, like, how easy has it been for you to like communicate and get people on board when it comes to your startup?
Okay, so with me, that the funny thing is that, and I will tell to start off with, is because when we started the company, I was solving a problem for myself. So I said to myself, even if no one likes it, at least I'm building a solution to help myself, so I was the first customer in the business. And before we knew it, because part of our business we co-developed with our clients who were the farmers quite a lot of the problems they shared with us what they would want us to help them with. And it has been quite easy in how we got support, because as you start doing co-development with people, with your clients quite a lot, they start being your pillar of support that, and you start being able to grow quite quickly. And being able to build a team from it was that I was also lucky too, because my co-founder is someone who comes from university. So he has taught quite a number of people at university, being a senior professor. So a lot of the students that he worked with, he of us for master's and PhD level were literally just excited about our project. And before we knew it, we had a huge team. So I think the approach that we did of doing co-development, and also even when we talk to investors, we also approach them in the sense that even if you don't give us money, at least be part of our journey, either give us support, give us mentorship, or link us to the people that would help in our journey. Or you probably know a client that has a farm that could be our client too. So link us up. So that is how we built a community as we are still in our journey of growth.
Yeah, Caitlin, I know we have talked about this before, but I want to go with the same question. Like, has it been easy to get people on board? Getting investors, getting supporters. I mean, the recognition you received in the last couple of months has been, of course, amazing. But I'm curious to know what it was like in the beginning or the early stages of the company. Yeah, no, it's such a good question. I mean, I think that impact is definitely at the core of what we do, and it fuels us every single day. Because the business is tough. I mean, it's emergency response, and you have to be pretty nuts to start a company that operates 24/7. Like, we never shut. And, as an entrepreneur, you're already, overstretched. But then when the day is always 24 hours, it's, sometimes can feel very, very overwhelming. I think for us, our biggest challenge initially was just the realization that, so many people, especially investors who initially backed us, live in a city or country where 911 exists. And because it's such a ingrained system that you've never actually really thought about, you don't really understand what that kind of intangible and as well as tangible feeling is if you don't live in a world where that exists. But once you're in Nairobi or you're in Kenya or you're across Africa or even in the Middle East, in some countries where it doesn't exist, it's so evident that impact. Everyone has a family member or a personal experience where they've not been able to. So I think it was more us being able to kind of connect the dots and oftentimes use stories, but also be able to kind of extrapolate those stories such that investors saw this as not just a feel good investment, but something that actually has merit and massive opportunity to scale as well. So I believe we are running close to our deadline for this particular discussion, but I would like to kind of like have our last question or our last point of discussion directed at our audience who are probably entrepreneurs building businesses of their own. Maybe there are some people over there who are just thinking about it. They have a problem, they have a solution, at least in their heads, and they're thinking about going to realize it. At this point, I just want to ask all of you, if you can, if there's one piece of advice you would give to these innovators, these change makers who might be like Nneile and Caitlin was saying, what Nneile was saying, like she was trying to solve it for her family, but it realized into a bigger impact for everyone. Or like Caitlin's case, it was something so generic in other nations, but it has, appeal in places where they don't have them. What's your piece of advice you would give for, entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs who are listening to you, who want to build, their socially minded innovations as well? Rad, I'm going to start with you again, if that's okay.
My message to all entrepreneurs is that purpose trumps profit. So it's always been like this. So focus on solving a problem and make it the ultimate mission of your company. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy journey, but you have to work hard, fail hard, and come back again with armed with knowledge and experience.
Great line. Purpose trumps profit. I love that line. Abdulrhman, same question. What's your advice for entrepreneurs?
Actually, I'm going to quote my my instructor advice for me. She has always said to me, "Don't fall in love with your startup. Don't fall in love with your solution."
Yeah. How has that helped you, Abdulrhman? I'm curious to hear that also. Like,
actually, it was really beautiful nice because we were falling in love with our solution that we are creating impact from coffee ground. I love mushroom. I love coffee ground. So it's my dream job. It's my dream startup. So falling in love with that, It's make you blind from seeing the mistake that you feel in when with your team, with your other use clients or and products and so on. So with these were effective advice for me and my team, absolutely.
Great, great. Don't fall in love with your solution too much, I would say. It's okay to fall in love with it a little bit, but yeah, don't be blind.
Yes.
Absolutely. Nneile, same question. Any advice for entrepreneurs who want to follow in your footsteps?
Just do it, but open yourself to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Because this is a marathon, not a sprint, and there's going to be so many beautiful moments where you need to learn new things. There's going to be moments when you need to dump some knowledge that you thought you knew about the world, and there's going to be moments when you need to pick up new lessons along the way, but always be happy with the journey. Don't be focused on the destination of IPO or raising rounds of fundings, but celebrate the little steps that you take along the way.
Thank you, Nneile. I love that you said unlearn, because it's something that all of us have to do in our individual lives. It's learn, unlearn, relearn. It's absolutely true. And thank you for that. Caitlin, last but not the least, your piece of advice for people who want to follow in your footsteps, who see you as a role model they want to follow.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what Nneile said, is just start. But I think an additional piece of advice is to also not always listen to the no's. I think that it's so oftentimes when you're starting a company, there's going to be a lot of people that, you know, say, oh, it's too difficult, or, oh, you're going to need X amount of money, or that seems impossible. Yeah, right. And so I think that sometimes you just need to fully believe in yourself and, you know, be encouraged to prove people wrong. Because if, you know, everyone else had said no, then, you know, you wouldn't be in the place that you're at, and many companies would have never been created. So also follow your gut, and it's okay to push aside those no's, and keep charging ahead.
Absolutely. Just start, and like you said, you know, don't listen to the naysayers. Just do it. You'll learn. You know, even if you fail, you'll learn something. So that's a good line. I hope everyone will take with them today. Once again, Rad, Abdulrhman, Nneile, and Caitlin, congratulations for being declared the winners of the UCAN Startup Awards. You know, besides winning, I guess, a total of like $250,000, you have also received a number of support in terms of, you know, probably setting up here in the UAE. And, you know, we at Entrepreneur Middle East, and of course, Shara, are excited to see how you grow with your companies and how these solutions develop across the world. Thank you again for joining us. And of course, thank you to the audience also for being a part of this event. I hope you'll stay in touch. Of course, look these entrepreneurs up, follow them on their social media, look up their websites, and, you know, hopefully you'll get the inspiration you need to make change happen in your own communities. So thank you all, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ivy.